All right, guys, so I stumbled across this pretty epic speech slash rant from a Virginian delegate named Nick Freitas, in which he destroys the Democrats on the fact that they literally accuse any disagreement with them of being racist slash sexist. And I really do think that the GOP should take notes from this guy in terms of messaging and how to handle the constant accusations of being racist slash sexist from the Democrats just because you disagree with them. Take a look.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was asked by a colleague of mine on the other side of the aisle, someone I actually deeply respect, and she asked me, was I going to be nice this session? And I thought it was an interesting question. I don't particularly think of myself as an unnice person, but I can see how sometimes people would see that differently. But you know what I've never done, Mr. Speaker? I've never got on this floor and I've challenged the faith of an elected official because I disagreed with them on policy. I've never gone on this floor, Mr. Speaker, and suggested that the other side of the aisle were racist because they didn't agree with my particular policy positions. I've never suggested they were sexist because they didn't agree with my particular policy positions. But I'm keeping a running tally so far of this session. We're not very far into it. And almost every day, someone on the other side of the aisle either gets up and either subtly or comes right out and suggests that if you don't agree with them on policy, well, then you're not a Christian. You're a sexist. You're a bigot. You're a racist. But the moment someone actually stands up and says, wait a second, no, I'm not going to accept that. If you want to debate me on the merits of our particular policies, I am happy to have that discussion. But at the moment you claim, with no evidence other than we don't agree on a particular policy position, the moment you claim that that makes us racist or sexist or bigoted, Mr. Speaker, I've got news. This was tried during the election cycle. You had a lot of parents coming to their local elected officials asking questions about what was going on in their schools. And the initial response was, oh, it's not there. And then when they saw evidence that it was, based off of what their kids were coming home and saying to them, and they went back and reissued the concern, then they got told, oh, well, then you must be a racist. Because that has been the repeated narrative coming from certain members of the other side of the aisle. And there's been a lot of times where we've sat here politely and just took it. Mr. Speaker, not this time. I'm tired of it. My constituents are tired of it. Because when these claims are made, they're not just made against Governor Youngkin, they're not just made against us. They're made in part against the people that elected to send us here. And I don't know a single person in this chamber that I would define as racist or sexist or bigoted. We have very different ideas about how to get to particular end states where all Virginians can be happy, healthy, prosperous, and free. But just so I'm very clear, will I be nice this session? I would certainly like to be, but I'm not about to sit here and listen to that, Mr. Speaker, and then go home to my constituents and have them ask me, why didn't you stand up and defend us? So let's have a robust policy discussion. But if you're going to question the faith or the intentions of anybody that happens to disagree with you on policy, then you don't get to lecture us on compassion, tolerance, or an open debate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, that guy's 100% correct, right? I mean, GOP needs to listen to that guy, okay? They need to hire him as the lead of communications or something like that, right? Because what he's saying is exactly how I think a ton of people feel, right, when it comes to disagreements with liberals and Democrats. Because if you don't agree with them, they always say that the disagreement is not about the policy in and of itself. Okay, it's not policy oriented. It always comes from a place of racism slash sexism, right? AKA a place of hate. You're a bigot if you don't agree with them. And the crazy thing about this, guys, is that it's not even like any of this is grounded in any real principles, right? Like, for example, the filibuster. The Democrats are basically accusing people of being racist if they don't want to get rid of the filibuster, right? So the Democrats can pass their so-called Voting Rights Act. And they've gone as far as to accuse people of being Confederates, right? You're on the side of Jefferson Davis, okay? If you don't agree with getting rid of the filibuster, right? However, the Democrats not only vehemently used the filibuster under Trump, they also staunchly defended the filibuster under Trump as well, right? They wanted to keep it in place, okay, when they was in the minority. So again, was it racist when they used it? Of course not, right? Of course it wasn't. But again, that just kind of shows you the fact that they're calling you racist if you oppose getting rid of it now, even though they have used it and spammed it under Trump and defended it under Trump. Again, it tells you where a lot of this stuff comes from. It's not that they actually really think that you're racist. It's simply that they want to use these labels to smear your character rather than having a policy debate, because they know if they had a policy debate on the filibuster, everybody would bring up the fact that, okay, no, you defended the filibuster a few years ago saying that, hey, it's important to have the filibuster as a Senate in a way to, cool down on legislation, right? To prevent the majority from running over the minority, right? And you were cool with it, using the exact same arguments the Republicans are using now. Except now the arguments are not about policies, but it's about, oh, well, you're a racist if you oppose it, right? And again, dude is 100% right. They only say that to literally stop debate on policy because they don't want to talk about the policy. They simply want to talk about your character. Well, this guy's wrong because, his character is wrong, right? He's a racist. He's a sexist. So that means that he's opposing this policy, not because, he has legitimate policy disagreements. It's simply because of racism/sexism. And in my opinion, I think that that has poisoned politics. It's probably one of the most toxic things in politics, because politics should be about policy. Politicians should be having a substantial policy debate in regards to what's best for the American people. And you can't do that when you accuse the other side of being racist/sexist just because they disagree with you, right? You can't do that. You can't do that. It's cool to, disagree on a policy and say, listen, I just disagree with this policy for X, Y, and Z reasons. But again, it's not cool to attack somebody's character over a policy disagreement, especially when it's so obvious that you don't really believe the things that you say out of principle, right? Again, which is most of the Democrats. And furthermore, it's funny how they weaponize certain policies, right? Like, for example, voting rights. They say, oh, well, vote ID is racist, right? It's racist if you are for showing an ID to vote, even though most of the American people agree with it, including black folks, right? But for whatever reason, vaccine passports, showing a vaccination card that, probably requires your ID to get in order to actually participate in real life, oh, that's not racist, right? There's never a conversation around whether or not that's racist coming from the Democrats, right? And Republicans never really bring up, whether or not it's racist, because at the end of the day, they don't typically run around accusing their opponents of being racist, right? They debate the policy on its merits, which is a good thing. That's why I had to make it clear in the past that I don't think that showing vaccination status is racist. I don't think it's a racist policy. I just think it's discriminatory against unvaccinated people. But I don't think it's racist. However, again, according to Democrat logic, they should be saying that it's racist, right? They should be saying that it's racist, considering how it does disproportionately discriminate against black people, right? But like I said, man, I think that the GOP, they should take notes from speeches like this, right? When Democrats start to stoop down to calling everything racist, they should just shut down debate and be like, no, I'm not moving forward with any policy discussion as long as you're calling me a racist or a sexist, period, right? If you call me a racist or a sexist because I disagree with you on policy, we're not having a debate anymore, right? We're done with this, okay? And you should call the Democrats out on that stuff, because they have got away with this way too long. Way too long. But, the good thing is that I think a lot of Americans, including, so-called people of color, they're seeing through this, right? They're starting to see through the ruse and the trickery of the Democrats when it comes to this whole race conversation. How, at the end of the day, they don't really give a damn about your race. They really just give a damn about whether or not you agree with them, right? And if you don't agree with them, then you're racist, right? Sexist, bigot, homophobe, whatever term they want to throw out there, right? So, like I said, kudos to this guy. I thought this speech was excellent. Republicans, take notes. Take notes, man. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.